Hello everyone, we're back again because I just did this and I forgot to save it, so take two. Welcome to Friday Lunchtime Devotions. Our topic this week is rest, and today we're going to be looking at the prophet Elijah from 2 Kings 19. Elijah lived about 100 years after King David died. It was a pretty tumultuous time in Israel's history. The king at this point is King Ahab. He and his wife Jezebel have been doing a lot of evil things. They have been leading Israel to worship other gods, and they've been killing God's prophets. In the previous chapter, there's this big showdown where Elijah challenges all the false prophets to this crazy contest where each side is supposed to build an altar and prepare a sacrifice, but not light the fire. And then each side would pray to their God, and whichever God lit the altar on fire with fire from heaven would be proved to be the true God. The false prophets pray all day, and their God does nothing. And then Elijah comes and he dumps a ton of water on his altar. He prays to God, and God sends fire from heaven, and it burns up the whole altar. And it's this massive display of God's power. He shows up in this super unignorable way. But after winning this massive showdown, Jezebel, the king's wife, gets super mad at Elijah, and she sends word to him that she is looking for him and that when she finds him, she's going to kill him. So he books it out of there. He's afraid, and he's running for his life. He travels through the desert, and eventually he gets to Mount Horeb, where he hides in a cave. And it says this: "The word of the Lord came to him. 'What are you doing here, Elijah?' He replied, 'I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant. They've broken down your altars, and they've put your prophets to death with the sword, and I'm the only one that's left. And now they're trying to kill me too.' The Lord said, 'Go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, and the Lord is about to pass by.' Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountain apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord, but the Lord wasn't in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face, and he went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice said to him, 'What are you doing here, Elijah?' He replied, 'I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant and broken down your altars and put your prophets to death with the sword, and I'm the only one that's left. And now they're trying to kill me too.' The Lord said to him, 'Go back to the way you came. Go back to the desert of Damascus. When you get there, anoint Hazael king over Aram. Also anoint Jehu son of Nimshi king over Israel, and anoint Elisha son of Shaphat from Abel Meholah to succeed you as prophet. Jehu will put to death any who escape the sword of Hazael, and Elisha will put to death any who escape the sword of Jehu. Yet I reserve 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed down to Baal, and all whose mouths have not kissed him.'" Elijah is worn out. He feels beaten down by his enemies and his problems. He has been working super hard to try and be faithful to God, to try and share God's message with the people around him. And Israel keeps rejecting it. He's been working super hard to be faithful to God, but the leaders and the rulers and authority around him keep persecuting him, keep oppressing him. They keep killing all the prophets and threatening his life too. He's facing enemies on all kinds of sides, and he feels alone. He feels in despair. And he brings these things to God. And God comes close to him, and he speaks to him. But this time, it's not in a giant, flashy way. He comes softly as a gentle whisper. He comes close to Elijah, and he speaks. He doesn't necessarily make all the problems go away, but he lets Elijah know that he sees him and that he hears him and that he's preparing people to help him so that he's not alone. He gives Elijah guidance and direction. Sometimes God speaks to us in big, unignorable ways, and they're loud and big, and you can't miss it. But that's not the only way that God speaks. Sometimes he also speaks with quiet, gentle whispers. And the thing about gentle whispers is that you have to be quiet to hear them. There are a lot of noises in our world. Our world can be so loud. There's a lot of voices telling us a lot of things, and it can make it hard to hear those gentle whispers. And that's why it's so important to be intentional about making time to be quiet and still and listening for God's voice. I've got some journal questions for you guys to think about as you process through all of this. The first one is, has it been hard or easy to hear God's voice lately? Why or why not? The second is, what other voices are competing for my attention, or competing for God? What other voices are competing with God for my attention right now? And then instead of a deep dive this week, I'm going to give you a challenge. It's this. Find some time this weekend to be quiet. I'm going to challenge you to do this for 10 minutes, at least. You can go longer if you'd like. Turn off the music, turn off the TV, leave your phone behind, and just be with Jesus. Maybe that means going for a walk. Maybe that means finding a nice quiet place in your house or in your yard. But find some time to be quiet and be with God. And then if you need someone to process the time with you, after you've spent some time with God, if you need to talk about how it went, or something you feel like he's telling you, feel free to give me a call. Send me a message if you don't have my phone number. I'd be happy to chat with you. In the meantime, I'm praying for you guys as you spend some quiet time with Jesus this weekend, and I hope to see you on Sunday for youth group on Zoom. See y'all later.